Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast. It's been a minute, but you have one real American and one pseudo American with you today. I'll be your host, Mark. I've got my scarf on and I'm feeling pretty good because we've had back-to-back wins. And joining me is the man himself from the land of the free, home of the brave. I know him as Modus, Mike of the United States. Mike, how are we feeling during this holiday season?
Mark, it is so great to be celebrating it. Are we calling it St. Rodrigo or St. Muniz Day with you? Because one way or another, we have to celebrate a 1 year anniversary since we beat Chelsea, right?
Oh, 100%. Great moment. I think Muniz has a nice ring to it.
St. Muniz Day. Okay, we will call it St. Muniz Day. But yeah, it has been a wonderful Christmas period. Happy holidays, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the time under the tree, the presents. I think you got an extra present coming up pretty soon, so I'm very excited for you on that one. But yeah, happy to be here. And by the way, you are just slightly less American than Anthony Jedi Robinson, but we'll welcome you anyway anytime you want to come.
I'm always happy to be there. And for those of us who are listening and not watching, you may notice that Mark and Mike are wearing some dashing Fulham scarves. Mine is a standard one. Mine's pretty cool. But Mike, tell me about yours.
Yeah, so I got to thank shout out to those at Fulham DC for giving me a Fulham DC scarf when I was when they came through, and then when I went down, I got to represent wearing this. So very happy to be matching today. I feel all festive. I feel ready to go, and I'm excited to talk about Forest and Palace and what we're doing as we go into January.
Oh, 100%. Well, I think that's a good place to start, right? So, Forest, my thoughts at this, I've made this tremendously, to use one of the favorite words of your commander in chief, tremendously, famously dislike Forrest for a number of reasons. I'll keep it short, but I will give their owner this. He does not give a crap about FFP, and that I like. It's pretty awesome. He's just like, money to spend, let's do it. So you got to give him credit there. But I was thinking this might be a bit of a banana skin. We've always done well against Forest. I think our recent record is pretty good, but they've been spending a lot. They've been picking up some good names. So I really wanted to win this one, and I'm glad we did. But Mike, tell me your thoughts on Forest, sort of, since they came up with us, how they've done so far. And were you worried about this match, or were you pretty confident that we could get it over the line?
So first of all, I don't think anyone cares about FFP. SCR is huge now, so we got to focus on SCR. Um, Look, I think there are some things that I've really liked about Forest when they came up. I know we were linked to some similar names. Callum Hudson-Odoi, we were linked to, and then he went over there. So it's definitely been interesting to see them go. I think we've been a little more stable than they have, if I remember correctly. When they came up, they were kind of hovering amongst the relegation places. Then they obviously had a great season last season, kicked on. They're in Europe right now. And now they're kind of back to where we are, where we've been a little more stable. We've been kind of a more of a stable mid-table club. And I think there's a piece of me that kind of wishes we could have kicked on the same way that they have, and maybe, finished the job and gotten to Europe. But also, there's something to be said for having a little bit of calm, a little less gray hair going on. I don't need to look like Saint Nick anytime soon and get the white beard and the white hair. In terms of the match, I was a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. They're a resolute team. They are a team that obviously has talent there. But they're also a team that candidly plays us in a way that we like to play against. They like to sit it back a little more. They like to hit on the counter. And as we saw from Marco in the championship, and a little more a little less, excuse me, as we've seen when we got to the Prem, but we like to have the ball. We're really good when, people want to sit back and let us play. Obviously, we're not going to score as much, but we get some good results. And I think I've enjoyed our last couple matches against Forest.
Yeah, completely agree. Now, it was a scrappy match, as evidenced by the stats. I don't have them on me now, but I do remember, I think it's something like 12 shots to them, 2 on target, and we had maybe 10 or 11, and just the 1 on target, which came from the penalty. There are a couple of early chances on both sides, but by and large, I don't know if you'd call it that enthralling a match for the neutral. A bit scrappy. Some names I have to shout out. First, from the Forest side, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but maybe people want to see biased Mark. That'll come out with the beers. But Elliot Anderson, what a pickup from then. I know he overhit some balls, but it felt like he was everywhere. I wish we had an 8 that could do that, because he had just the right level of physicality where he would get away with some borderline fouls, not fouls. It's a physical game, that kind of thing. But I just remember him covering a lot of the pitch. Some other names, Morgan Gibbs-White, Murillo. Those are a couple of players that I really like on their side. But in general, yeah, I think I wouldn't say we had their number. It was relatively evenly matched, but some good displays of skills, especially just as we started off with Kevin. We have a couple of players we're going to talk about a little bit later on that I'm just really excited to discuss with you. But I mean, let's hit the key points first. Well, Kevin driving through two players, jumping ahead, and then gets taken out by Douglas Luiz. Now, I've heard both sides of the stories. It's a bit soft, it's a physical game, or I don't know if we can use the word stonewall, but a clear penalty. What's your take on that, Mike?
I think that's as clear as they come. I mean, candidly, if you watch the replay, it's one of those things where he gets his entire ankle and he's not playing the ball. He doesn't get a piece of the ball in the entire way through. Now, is Kevin a little bit theatrical? Is he making sure he gets the ref's attention? Absolutely. But look, in this day and age, we have to make the ref make a decision. We have to have him make a call. Did I think it was the best adjudicated game? Probably not. Definitely not. But at the end of the day, if we're not getting his attention, does he really go back and look at that? And that's clearly a penalty to me. And at the end of the day, good on Kevin for not only earning the penalty, but having the presence of mind to know that, hey, I'm going to get hit here. Let's make sure that we make a show of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know Kevin's come under a fair bit of flack. I think the price tag is part of that. And his first showing at Leeds, we got so excited. I know I was excited as I was on the edge of my seat for the 5-10 minutes he was on, where he did all those brilliant take-ons and crosses into the box. But I have a feeling he'll come good. And you're right. That was very wily from a 22-year-old to know that he's done enough in the box and he is in control of the ball to the point where a wild boot clipping him on the ankle is going to take him down. And then we got to talk about Raul. Raul's another one. I wouldn't say controversial, but with Silva's selection and JKA on the bench and Raul being clearly tired from playing every minute, whether for club or country, did you have nerves when he stepped up, or were you like 11 for 11, let's go?
When he first stepped up, zero nerves, but I'm watching the States. I don't get to be in the ground, and you hear the commentators talking about, hey, he's 10 for 10. He never misses. He's stepping up confidently. And you just feel the ick of the commentators' curse coming down. And I said, is this really it? And personally, I hate the long run-ups. I really do. Every time I see them, whether it was Pogba, whether it was Bruno Fernandes, honestly, I think it's just United run-ups that I really hate, unless they're against us and they mess them up. But at the end of the day, Raul might be the best penalty taker I've ever seen. Like, Jorginho is the other one in our era that I can kind of think of. But it's one of those things where, how nice is it as a Fulham fan, by the way, to go from all of these random, penalty takers that we've had, the arguments between AK and Mitrovic demanding to be on the penalties, debating whether it's going to be Willian or Pereira, to not only do we have a number one that we absolutely know is going to be our penalty taker every single time, but take that a step further. I think about some of the shootouts that we've had. If you had told me Harry Wilson's going to be taking the penalty, I feel good. So it's a very weird feeling, at least for me as a Fulham supporter, to be confident in a penalty taker. But I mean, I didn't think Raul did much in the game otherwise, but did a really, really great job stepping up confidently, even though he hasn't been putting them away this season, to know, hey, this is what I'm here to do. It's why we keep him on late in games when he is exhausted and we carry him, that this is what he is here to do. And he puts it away confidently. It's a striker's finish. And maybe that's the confidence he needs to spur him on until Muniz is back or until we can potentially get somebody else in the window.
Yeah, very fair points. I think he just gave me some residual trauma from mentioning Mitrovic's name and penalties because, he works so hard to win the penalties and he's launched it straight at the goalkeeper. Okay, we go again.
Or he's double hit it against Newcastle.
Oh yeah, and then that doesn't count. That was also horrendous. Classic Mitro. But yeah, he strokes it in. The stutter run does freak me out a little bit. I hear the strategy behind that is just to wait for the goalkeeper to commit and then just go the other way, but it never feels like he hits it with that much force. But hey, 11 for 11. The man clearly knows what he's doing. So there you go. We
They
move
can't
on
all
from
be
there.
Issa Diop and just launch them into the top of the net.
That was that. I know we're going on a slight fun little tangent here, but that was wild. It's like Sessegnon's gonna bring it home. Oh boy, and then like no, he doesn't. And then it's like it's okay because he's actually laid it up for Kusiasari to bring it home, and now we can all up.
No.
Nope, he's also missed. It was maybe it was a bluff within a bluff just to get Diop to become the hero. So that was the grand plan from Marco. But we did have a few more opportunities with Raul. We caught a couple of good. He had a couple of good headers. I mean, they could have been better. Otherwise, if they were better, they would have been on target. But one from the left, and interestingly, one from the right. I'm not sure if you recall the move, but it was Josh King and Kenny Tete a little later on in the game. For once, we'll come to this again, but Marco seemed to have got the subs right this time, which was very exciting. But lovely bit of skill from King. Lovely bit of skill to run with the ball. Remember, this is an 18-year-old against Forest are not, at least anymore. They're not a bad team. And in transition, he's got two players on him, finds a way to jink it across to Tete, who puts a peach of a ball across. I was almost certain that was going to be 2-0 in game. I don't know about you, Mike.
Yeah, I do want to take a small step back. For once, Marco gets the subs right. I mean, let's be honest here. This is the man who I believe now owns the record for most substitute goals in a season for a team last season. Like, I know that there are games where we get it wrong, but more
Mm-hmm.
times than not, the subs actually do work out. That combination, though, that's that's where I feel like we're seeing Raul being tired, candidly. That's the place where earlier in the season against, I believe it was Villa, Raul scores pretty much that same goal, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much that glancing header that goes in. It's a great move. It's a great run of play. I know we're going to come on to other players later on, but I have to say, I think the best sub of the entire game wasn't even King. It was the return of the legend Tom Kearney coming in to just put his foot on the game when we needed to
Yeah.
take some more control and keep things going. You talked about Elliot Anderson making these passes. That's what TC does for us. He's the metronome in there. I actually think we got every sub right. Could I have done without seeing Adama? Yes. Would I love to see Ridgen get his Premier League debut? Yes. But at the end of the day, every single sub came off. And you talk about King coming on with that confidence, that little bit of, I'm going to make something happen out of nothing. It's a great play, and it's really, really exciting. And it brought in that energy we needed to just see out the game and make sure that we kept control.
100%. I mean, I'm actually quite, for once, excited about our future. Kevin comes good. We get an uninjured Chukwueze. ESR's doing better because he listens to this show and he was offended by your commentary on the beep test. And King as well. I think we might be cooking, as the youth put it. So I'll leave that out there.
I will tell you this: there's a TV show in the U.S. called The Challenge, where it's a competition slash reality television show, and one of the legendary characters is named CT. If you ever watch the show, and you can tell when the season's coming to the end and when you're coming to the final, which is typically a physical final, because CT is this older, grizzly veteran who, as the season gets on, he comes in very out of shape, and then you can see more and more of his jawline as the season comes through. And I think I'm only going to get another month or two to make fun of ESR's fitness before he actually comes through and we're in the brunt of things and he's coming in. So if the challenge is what motivated ESR, if he's learning from the great CT Tamburello, then fantastic. But at the end of the day, like, I'm loving the contributions that we're seeing. I'm really excited. I really hope we don't mess around with this Chukwueze option to buy, and we just give them the money on January 1st. That's me being overly hopeful. That's what I want under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where there's a lot to like about what's coming through. And you didn't even mention Cess coming back from injury. Muniz is coming back in February. We've got some really, really fun stuff coming through.
Oh, 100%. A few more names we have to mention, and I need to give this man his flowers. I've been rooting for him. I've been supportive. But you, I believe, are by far the biggest fan. You know who I'm talking about. The Spanish sensation himself, Jorge Cuenca. Colossal. barely put a foot wrong, winning headers, yelling at Milinkovic? I don't know. I think he got a little nudge to help him on his way up from Raul. But there was a little scuffle going on there. But what a player, what a pickup. Honestly, different profile, but someone I believe there isn't really a drop off when Bassi goes. And if anything, I'm kind of rooting for Cuenca to take his place. I think they bring different things, but I loved what I saw. We got to keep this guy, Mike. We have to keep him for what, 7 million? What a bargain.
I mean,
Completely at
justice
ease in
is
the
being
Premier League.
served. Justice is being served for Cuenca. And it's interesting when you think about Spanish defenders, you think about the profile that he was marketed to us as he was a ball playing center back. And when I watched against Forest, that might have been the thing that was worst in his game.
Mm-hmm.
He was physical. He kept up with everyone. He marched the team forward. He made sure that he kept the strikers quiet, whether it was Wood or Awani just coming in. He matched them every step of the way. He didn't seem to miss a beat with Anderson. He won headers. I can't say enough great things. It's been awesome to see that justice is going to be served for Cuenca, and whether that means Bassi has some competition in the squad, whether that means at some point we can sell Bassi on and reinvest, whether that means Bassi goes out to left back when Jedi is injured and gives us kind of another option in there with Sessegnon as well. I can't say enough great things. I'm so happy to see him getting an opportunity to come good. And candidly, I was thinking back through kind of the game as a whole, and you had mentioned, that they had 12 shots and 2 on target. To a degree, it reminded me of another match against a red and white team when we played Sunderland. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember their shots.
Yep.
I don't remember thinking, oh God, like they are imminently going to score. I had dread because holding on to a 1-0 lead is not necessarily something that Fulham does very well, especially this season. But I mean, Cuenca just looked solid, didn't look intimidated by, a Sean Dyche team that's pretty physical. And if I think about the other teams in the league that are going to be as physical, I don't think Cuenca's going to have a problem. So he's adjusted wonderfully. I think he needs opportunities. I think this is a little bit of circumstance of how, of how the squad has taken shape. But Cuenca is only 25 years old? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he's that old. He's still got room to develop. There's a player there for sure. And we need to do whatever we can to hang on to him and give him the opportunities.
100%. Great player, and I'm very excited for that position and Jorge Cuenca. One more thing I want to mention, and I want to hold my hand up here and say, I done goofed. I messed up. And how did I mess up? I often say, Marco, we play the game too cleanly. I wish we were more tactical, and we do need to be. We do need to be a bit more streetwise and stuff like that. But one thing I noticed is Anderson was just manhandling the hell out of Igor Jesus. Manhandling, but just enough that he only got called out once for it. And takes me back. I was like, do we do that enough? We do. Same with Nick Voltemade, Newcastle, and Diop. So I think we are a little bit sly, or we do have those players that have that. And Igor Jesus, I mean, he had maybe 1 or 2 opportunities to make a difference, but by and large, I really like the performance that Anderson put in, even with his ring finger at a 90-degree angle. Bit of a strange look, made me a little bit queasy, but it's good to know we have that fight in the team, someone that, because that's got to be bothering you all game. Even if you get it treated, even if you take the painkillers, which he said in a post-match interview, yeah, they don't really work. I'm just glad that we have that grit in the team, and it just made me happy, to be honest. I don't know. Do you have any other defensive players you want to call out, or what do you think of Anderson?
I mean, I love the Anderson attitude. It's a different injury, but it just reminds me of another Fulham legend, Brian McBride, cracking his nose open against Italy and then just coming back onto the field like nothing's happened. Like it's the type of grit that you need. That was one of those things that it's great to see. I think the one other, and it's not a defensive player that I want to call out, but it's clear that teams right now are looking at Harry Wilson and are scared. And you
Mm-hmm.
saw it in the way that they tried to play Wilson. They tried to keep shading to keep the ball from getting over there. I thought there were a couple times where Kevin was taking the ball down and had that slide rule pass that Chukwueze or even Iwobi plays across the Wilson and gives him kind of a one-time finish that I don't think Kevin quite sees yet. But that was Wilson gives us such a great dimension, whether it's Chukwueze, whether it's Sessegnon, whether it's Kevin on that other side. That's just something different, something that's a little more direct. And I was really happy to hear in the Marco press conference today that the injury looked worse than it was. And I really do hope he's available for the next match, because not only is he our informed player right now, but he's also somebody who just gives us a little more of directness, not in the sense of his pace necessarily, but his eye for goal, his always looking at the keeper just to try something. And it's a guy who's in all sorts of confidence right now.
100%. And I think that's a lovely segue to our next match. We will be going to my first away game at 35 years of age. Been to plenty of Fulham games as a season ticket holder, but I'm quite excited. This is a pretty easy trip. Let's face it, it's London as well, right? So it's going to be 30
I've heard
minutes
this isn't the best
minutes.
one.
Yeah, I did want to get Palace, but the timetables just don't work out. And I know that we have some visitors from across the pond coming for the Palace game, so that's very exciting to welcome Fulham Boston. But West Ham should be. Yeah, the problem is I hear the stadium's too big, so you're quite far away from the action. So we'll see. But it's not a happy hunting ground for us. And West Ham, I want your take on them, because I don't understand what's not working. They have, in my opinion, a good coach. They also have, in my opinion, I don't know if I'd call it a good team, but enough good individuals that I would like some of those individuals. I wouldn't mind Jared Bowen. I wouldn't mind Lucas Paqueta. They've put Edson Alvarez out on loan, but they have our old goalkeeper in Alphonse Areola there as well. So it's just that the individual parts don't seem to be gelling, and they've had a horrendous start under Potter and now under Nuno. But tell me your thoughts on West Ham. Do you think we should be able to turn them over, or is the curse of the Olympic Stadium once again going to be far too much, where we dominate them, hit the post 3 times, and they come away with a 2-1 win?
I love how you say far too much, because I've also heard there's a running track around the pitch, and so that makes you even further away from the field as well. But I think it's going to be a really interesting game. West Ham under Nuno is a different team than West Ham under Graham Potter. And look, I think Graham Potter may have been found out a little bit. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe everybody is going for Potter mania more than when Daniel Radcliffe was playing the role. But they've definitely upped some of their results recently. They've been scoring more goals. They've been playing some teams a little more tightly, whether it's United, whether it's Bournemouth, whether it's Brighton. They've definitely turned things around a little bit. Hopefully coming off of Man City, their heads are down a little bit. But I think part of the issue that they're facing is probably similar to the issue that we're facing right now, and is that they don't really know where their goals are coming from. You've mentioned Jared Bowen. He's a phenomenal player, but it's one of those things where he's not an out-and-out striker. Paqueta is not the guy who's going to give you all the goals. And I don't think they have that same guy. They thought it was going to be Fulkrug. Before that, it was Mikel Antonio, who still gives me nightmares from a few seasons ago when we played West Ham. I will tell you, if they end up going down, the guy I want us to get immediately is Mateus Fernandez. That guy can really, really play. Young midfielder, really, really interested there. But I think they've had that MO of being relatively solid at the back all season, again, barring City, and who doesn't? Who are we to talk when we surrendered 5 goals to City, even if we scored 4? But I don't think they have that talismanic man up front anymore that we really need to fear. And I think there's an opportunity for us to step up in a very similar way to how we've stepped up recently, where we've played some games that they don't necessarily have the scary striker the way, that Burnley didn't have that scary striker. Igor Jesus, little more scary, and thanks for catching me there, because I'm still living in a fantasy land where Chris Wood starts for Forest. But they don't have a guy like that up there that we really need to be scared of. I think it gives us an opportunity to press the lines a little bit more. Now, does it make me a little more nervous that we're playing by default the shield, I guess is what I have to call it at this point, of Lukic and Berger? Yeah, I wish we had a more attacking option. Is this the game where we potentially drop a Josh King into the 8? Maybe, but you don't mess with a winning team in my mind. And I think there's an opportunity for us to press on and really, really push things. And then again, as we said before, if the game's close, we have subs. I think we were talking about this before offline, but Mark, one of the really cool things about Fulham, and something I've really wanted to see recently, is Do I love the circumstances where we have to have 3 kids under the age of 19 on the bench? No, but one of the benefits of being an established Premier League club is that's how you have the pipeline come through. Whether it's a Kusei Asari who's whether he's not is ours is a different question, but having the opportunities for somebody like Ridge and having the opportunities for a Josh King to break through, this is the type of match where I want to see that youthful exuberance and come through. And I have to go in optimistic. We've won 2 on the bounce. We are 3 points away from the European places, maybe 4, depending on what you actually call Europe. I would even take the Conference League at this point. So yeah, I go in excited. I go in hoping that we're on the front foot. And yes, Nuno is a really good manager, but he's another one of these back foot managers who wants to play you on the counter, that I think we should be exploiting that with the types of players that we have in the team.
Yeah, very fair point. Now, there is one name that still gives me nightmares from his times at, God, where was he? I'm pretty sure he was at Bournemouth, I want to say, and then Newcastle, and finally West Ham. Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson loves to score against us, and if he doesn't score, he loves to get nudged by Joachim Andersen. I remember this because we were in a relegation battle with him. He gets nudged. Is it a foul? Yes. And then he sort of stumbles about 5 meters and then throws himself into the penalty box. And the ref's like, yeah, clearly the contact took place in the penalty. Still very, as you guys can tell, very, very bitter about that moment. And then Newcastle got all the PIF money, and then the rest is history. But yes, Callum Wilson, I want to keep an eye on him. Fulkrug also hasn't scored in a while, but I remember the sort of mentality.
He's out the door, though.
Yeah. He is out the door, but I guess the mentality has just changed so much. I mean, they were winning Europa League trophies before under Moyes, but Moyes plays boring football. Get him out. This isn't the West Ham way. And unsolicited life advice, I do a fair bit of traveling. Talk to cabbies. Cabbies are fun people to talk to. They've seen a lot of the city you're in. And a lot of cabbies are West Ham fans. And the latest cabbie I spoke to, believe it or not, he said, send us down. We're done. I was like, that's a weird thing to say. I'd like to stay up. He's like, nope, terrible. Rip it all up and just rise from the ashes like a phoenix. So I thought that was one hell of a hot take. I can't imagine myself ever saying, yep, get Fulham relegated so we can build it all up. But
I think the hot take in this is that you still take cabs and you don't take Uber like everybody else in this generation, but that's okay.
That's a fair point. Oh, support a dying business. Are they dying?
That might be a London thing.
Industry under stress.
Don't worry. I will make sure that you get your upgraded cable package for next year too.
Thank you. It's really difficult to cancel, so yeah, no, I appreciate that. All right, so there you go. Can I press you for a prediction?
Oh, I called my prediction almost perfectly last week. I said Wilson was going to score. I didn't say Raul, and I said it was going to be 1-0. I have a feeling that we are going to continue on winning ways, and I know that this is a bit of a homer prediction. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1. I think Wilson does get back on the board this week. I'm very interested to see that. And I'm debating. I want to be optimistic, and I just don't know which direction I want to be optimistic in. Do I want to say that Kevin gets his first for the Whites, or do I want to say that Raul continues his scoring ways? I want to be. It's the Christmas season. I'm giving goals to everybody. Kevin's getting his first, so I'm going to say 2-1, and I'm going to say that Bowen gets one for them. But that's my gut check. What about you, Mark? I'm curious. Are you going to be beige here?
Always beige. It's the best way to avoid all criticism. Just stick on that fence and don't turn any other way. But I don't know, man. I want to go with a win, but something just we seem to be allergic to 3 in a row. So I think there will be goals. I think it will be 2-2, and I feel like it's gonna be one of those gut punches. It's gonna be us dominating the game, it being 2-1, us panicking. And no joke, from the 85th minute onward, it's going to be conceding from a corner. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be so happy if I'm wrong. But just we don't do corners. We don't do defending corners with. That's a whole nother story that Skibby can regale us after his 5th beer. But
I'll be concerned if Souček comes off the bench for a corner. I will tell you that will scare me just as much as Callum Wilson.
Oh my word, yeah, and the Lookman Panenka. Let's not revisit these moments that were less than glorious.
Oh, don't put
Yeah.
this out in the universe. Look, we have a real penalty taker right now. That belonged in the penalty section from earlier. Yeah, we're not. No more Panenkas. We're done with
Could
that.
you imagine Raul going for 12 for 12 with a Panenka against West Ham?
With a super long run up. Oh my god, I think that's the stuff of nightmares.
That no, let's not will that into the universe. That seems like a poor manifestation. All right, so moving onwards, what have we got next? What I want for Christmas. What do we want for Christmas? Oh man.
Can we
Well, I
celebrate
believe
Christmas
Skibby
in
had an
January?
excellent question here. Go on, Mike.
Can we just celebrate Christmas in January now? Because I have a bunch of things I'd like for Christmas.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, God. An 8, a striker, and a winger would just about do it. But let's lead. We're going into questions. Let's lead with Skibby's question. He put this in the group chat, and I thought it was a great question. So you could pick one of two things. Marco signs a contract extension, and then you get a standard Fulham transfer window, whatever that means to you. Probably late, a gem in there, and one or two maybe players. Or Marco leaves at the end of the season. We don't know who we're getting, but we get 3 signings in January, and they are all first team level, if not better, and at the correct age profile. So we're not talking 32, 33. Do you want the players, or do you want a Marco extension? Go ahead, Mike.
Skibby is going to scream at me. I can already hear it in my ears. It might be offline. It might be online. I might get a nice voice note after this. I need Marco to sign the contract. That's the first thing I need under my tree. And look, I understand that some people think he might have gone a little stale. I know that there have been some contention about his substitutes, his lineups, whether he wants to play every single player, whether he has his favorites. There's something to be said about the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And Marco has gotten a tune out of this team every single season. It's one of those really weird things to think about. Despite how we feel about this season, we are only 2 points behind where we were last season. And we are actually, I believe, closer to the European places this season than we were last season at the same time. And I think if Marco is motivated and hungry and still invested in this project, which all accounts seem to be he is, we need to press on in this direction. And I love the way you frame the question that I only get one or the other. But if we get the signings that we need, and we get the AFCON boys back, and we get Muniz coming back and firing, and Cess now gets to be a wing option as well as a fullback option, I'm very excited for the back end of the season. If Marco signs the contract, I think that just reunites the locker room, gives us some more energy, and gives us some more drive. And again, I understand how people may want to see a new face, a new voice, but look at the years we've gone down. We've had this rotation in management. You look at all of these clubs, whether it's the ones we just mentioned, right? Whether it's a West Ham, whether it's a Forest who have turned over managers, or the ones who have managers in doubt, somebody like a Tottenham with Thomas Frank, or I'm not sure if you saw the news from Fabrizio Romano, but Ollie Glasner is apparently not going to re-sign at Palace. I'm very happy with what we've got. I have always been Marco in, so long as he wants to be here. I think he gets to write his ticket, gets to write his contract. And I think we need to back the horse. But you're giving me one of two options, and I think all of this starts with backing Marco. But Mark, I don't want you to sit on the bench. I need to hear, are you with me or are you on the dark side?
Oh, the bench is so comfortable. Not making a decision is great too. I want to be contrarian because I think it's fun for engagement and content. So I would go for the players. And hear me out. I love Marco. I'm not Marco out by any means, but I think when you have the right players, and I think we're almost there, but we could always do better. I get in so many arguments with Dave about this value versus money, and I think there's a correlation. But long story short, why do I want the players? Let's look at Villa. Villa were a team that had the players but the wrong manager under Gerrard, right? So they had the spine. Emery came in, 1 or 2 additions, suddenly they're Champions League. And I think sometimes we're so obsessed with winning the deal, sort of looking through the bargain bin, trying to find the gems. Not that we do that particularly well. Sometimes we get a Cuenca and sometimes we get a Carlos Vinicius. Yes, he gave us Chelsea. Thank you very much. Let's move on, right? But sometimes it doesn't always work out. And I just wish we were a bit more on the front foot with recruiting. Now, maybe it's an unrealistic question to begin with. We've seen in the chat, if Marco doesn't sign, we're not going to get the players. So it's a bit of a hypothetical, a theoretical, if you will. But I just really want us to have a good transfer window. Now we can make the argument, hey, our summer transfer window was pretty good because we got a good backup goalkeeper, we got 2 ace wingers, and in theory, we got a good striker as well. That is a gem that hopefully we can polish and sell for triple after he's given us 2 or 3 good years of service. But it's all come far too late, and I think 4 was the wrong number. Marco himself said, with AP leaving, we needed another midfielder. We didn't get that. We sent a panic bid out for apparently Danilo, even though he just moved from Forest to Botafogo, and also for I'm gonna mess up his name, but it was a Korean player in the national team at was it Feyenoord?
Yes.
Or Eindhoven? Feyenoord.
No, it was Feyenoord.
Right. So maybe that would have bumped it up, but our recruitment I still think needs a lot of work. Like I said, definitely Marco in, but that was a fun little exercise.
But Mark Scrooge, we have to go and take the Ghost of Christmas Past for this period. And I seem to remember a few years ago when I had fewer gray hairs and more wide-eyed optimism that we did have the right players, but we had the wrong manager. And I believe that the manager, he dressed immaculately, and he had this wonderful draw and this awful style of play. I believe his name was Scotty Parker, and he brought a team down. He brought a team down with a guy who was nominated for the Ballon d'Or. Now, was he really highly up nominated? No, but Bassi and Iwobi and Chukwueze are trying to recruit Lookman back, but at the same time, and wow, 2 Lookman references in this podcast, by the way. We need to cheers that for a second. But we've gone down with the right players in the past. And yes, the players are important, but Marco has built up all of these players over different periods. When we signed Raul as a replacement to Mitrovic, everybody thought the sky was falling. And yet I don't think he gets enough credit. I know we're not happy that we don't have the striking options right now, but at the end of the day, Raul has actually been wonderful value for money. It's not because Raul is the same player he was 5 years ago. It's because Marco has managed him as he can. We've built up a player in Rodrigo Muniz. We've rebuilt the careers of countless players, the Ryan Sessegnons, the Harry Wilsons. We've built up prospects like Josh King to come through. We are in the process of rebuilding somebody like a Sanderberger, somebody like an Emil Smith-Rowe. That doesn't happen if you just get manager X in the door. That's because Marco has a talent, Marco has a skill, and he's been doing this in spite of our recruitment, not because of it.
That was a fantastic monologue, and I didn't realize I was jumping on the pod with a member of the Oxford Union Debate Society, but here we are. I would like to take back my vote and move it. But very, very well put. I see your points, and I've got some thinking to do. So, moving on to our next
That's for the content. That is for the content, Mark.
Well, I guess you kind of referenced it, but let's go back to it. Our very own David Crave says, is this a good season? And like you said, Mike, 2 points behind the same stage last year, but 1 point ahead of like-for-like games. So, tougher games. And a cup quarter-final. I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? It feels like head versus heart. It feels like numbers versus gut feeling. And for me, we started so rough with so many things out of our control that I guess that kind of sticks with you for a bit until you start racking up the wins. But we had VAR debacles. We had a completely legitimate goal for Josh King ruled out. We had the late transfer windows. Overall, it could be a lot worse. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at Wolves. That's horrendous. That's really bad. And a couple of other
Burnley.
Teams. We could be Burnley with the Grandma Chic manager coming out every week, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. It feels like a 4 out of 10 season so far. Doesn't mean it'll finish a 4 out of 10. Slightly below. There's and it's not all. I'm not placing the blame on any one person. But I don't know, just the rough start, the late recruitment, Marco probably being his most argumentative and petulant we've seen ever, right? And he's reeled that back a little bit, which is appreciated. But everything felt, I don't think people like it when it's not even that controversial statement. People definitely don't like it when there's the opportunity for you to either be humble or to sort of explain things rationally, and instead you say, "Don't question me. Don't question my choices. I'm doing the best I can." It felt very defensive. But what about you? If you were to rate the season so far, or do you think there's maybe too much gloom and doom, and we should be more appreciative of where we're at right now?
I'm going to give you a weird statement. I think we're probably a 6.5 out of 10. And I
Okay.
don't know if you have these in the UK, but I feel like I'm on here to provide the outside American perspective. Um, this is what I would call the Outback Steakhouse of a season, where at the end of the day, do we have Outback Steakhouse in the UK?
No, but I have it. I know. I've had it in Tokyo. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
made it there.
Outback Steakhouse, for people who are listening, is a very silly kind of, and shout out to our Aussie boys, it's a knockoff food chain for steaks where you can get bloomin' onions and shrimp on the barbie, and you can get, pretty okay steaks for a very, very affordable price. Am I ever happy to go to Outback Steakhouse? Not particularly. Do I walk out having the food, having eaten, being full, and thinking, huh, this is actually pretty good. Why do I hate on this all the time? Yeah. And that's kind of our season in a nutshell. For all of the doom and gloom we had in the season, we have to talk about the fact that we have that amazing Mooney's moment in all of the transfer debacle where he scores against Brighton and holds up the scarf and goes absolutely crazy. Like, that's a moment I absolutely cherish. That's an iconic moment. We drew against United to start the season. That's a great moment. And we had a little cup run. We had the amazing win against Brentford. Those are all things I really like when I think back on the season. And then you look at the table, and yeah, we're 2 points behind where we were last season. I'm not happy about that. I thought we would be kicking on further to Europe than we would be, but
Hmm.
the window kind of held us back. The injuries have kind of bitten us. We've played most of the season without one of our best players in Anthony Robinson, and most clubs wouldn't be talking about missing a left back impacting their season so much. But Robinson has been pretty great since he's come back, even when he looks hampered. Um, I have to say, if I think about the season game by game, I agree with you. I'm not super happy. I don't feel very great. I feel like I'm eating at an Outback Steakhouse, but I walk away at the Christmas period and I think, huh, are we in a relegation fight? Not really. Like, maybe a little bit on the outside of it, but we haven't been sucked in. Are we still in with a chance to get Europe? Yeah. Have people necessarily behaved how I want to? No, but it it's been a season and it's been okay. And we have the opportunity to kick on. And again, maybe it's the holiday season. Maybe I am still looking for my presents under the tree, and we still haven't answered what we want for Christmas. But um, I think with a great window, if we're really prepared the way that Marco really wants to, and he's ready to sign the contract and be bought in till the end of the season, I think we have the opportunity to do something really, really special. And we've given ourselves a good enough place to work off of.
Yeah, that's a fair point. My rebuttal to that, just to be the pessimist, because you're clearly a pint half full kind of guy, because you're American, and I am a, honorary Brit,
Americans are
a
known as
real Brit.
being pint half full is a weird thing for me to hear.
Yeah, well, I just made that up now, but I'm a pint half empty, so there you
Okay.
go. And I'd say it's not, we need to base ourselves in reality and not theory. But I think a draw against Burnley and a loss to Forest, and the mood would be much damper.
Yeah.
However, that isn't what happened. So here we go. Much happier.
Mark, I will say, when we think about that, though, it reminds me a little bit of our first season back up under Marco, where we're beating the teams. And you look at this table that you have here, of the teams in and around us, the games we need to win, we beat Tottenham, we we beat Leeds, we beat Forest, we lost to Bournemouth, which kind of sucks. Um, we're playing West Ham next. We beat Burnley, we beat Wolves, we lost to Newcastle, and we lost to Everton, but we drew Brighton. The teams in and around us, we're doing okay. We're winning the games we're supposed to win right now. And that's the
Hmm.
formula to stay up and give us the opportunity to kick on. So I guess if I have to compare it to any season, it feels like our first season back up, minus the euphoria of being back up and not freaking out that we're in a relegation scrap.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. And I do, because it was the opposite the other season, wasn't it? The following season, where we beat the teams above us, but kept dropping
Right.
points to sort of relegated or relegation fodder. So that was weird and frustrating because we saw tremendous skill and tactics from Marco, but just couldn't do the basic bits right.
But we get an
But
awesome
yeah,
bicycle kick against Sheffield United from Rodrigo, which made it all worth it.
yes, the 3-3. That was epic. I was in Wales at the time of all places, but yeah, that helped cheer me up
In the
because I
black
was I
and
was so
pink, I
ready to
loved
lose.
that. I loved
Yeah.
that. That was so great. Yeah, no, it's a weird season. I will give you that. But at the end of the day, like, this is what stability looks like. And it's almost like, Mark, I don't know if you've ever been in a really bad relationship where, you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend break up every other week and you get back together and kiss and make up and everything's wonderful. And then you break up again and you fight. It just feels like that's this kind of season where we've been having these roller coasters up and down, and now we have a little bit of stability and we don't know what to do with it.
I have, in fact, not been in one of those relationships because I'm incredibly beige. Same thing for dinner every night. Just roast chicken and potatoes, no salt. So
English
that's
breakfast,
that's what I do.
full English every morning, right?
Oh, I wish. Deeply patriotic. But let's move on. I am taking these from our Discord. Shout out to our Discord. We should be talking about that more. Great platform to meet fun, friendly Fulham folk. Occasionally gets a bit spicy when it's transfer season. Some people have strong opinions on Marco, on players, but it's a great place. It's super welcoming. If you like memes, if you like banter, if you like questions and interaction, please come to our Discord. And with that, one more question, or a series of questions, rather, from Daza, leads with a very interesting one. He goes, with Adama almost certainly leaving, what do you make of his time here? I'll monologue a little bit. I don't know if I'd say deeply disappointed. That's a bit harsh. Not deeply disappointed, but I think he's underperformed a little bit. I was expecting a steam engine, like just going full force, take the ball, go through players, get a cross in. I don't care if the cross is crap, but just beat the players. And we know he has that in him. We've seen him wrestle Calvin Bassey and win. He's so strong. He's so fast, but there's this inbuilt hesitation. And he's almost like ungainly, if you know what I mean. He's almost got too much muscle where he like sprints, beats his man, then stops, then sort of mixes up his feet, and then either passes it backwards or loses the ball. And it's just, I had high hopes. I didn't think he was going to be, the center point of the attack, but I thought he would be a pretty key piece. Yes, we got him on a free. I'm sure he came with decent wages. I don't know what decent wages are. Let's say anywhere from 80,000 a week plus. Not 80 million, Jesus. But I think he's a little bit expensive, and it wasn't a bad bet. I think it was a clever bet, but unlike Raul, this former Wolves player just didn't pay off. But your thoughts?
Two guys that came in at the same time, Raul and Adama. I thought they were going to link up so much better. I saw this question before we joined, and I had done a little bit of homework on Adama. Do you know how many goals Adama's played about 65 matches for us. Do you know how many goals he scored for us?
I don't, but I'm going to go with 4.
That is exactly right. Jeez, buy him a lottery ticket right now. I don't remember a single one of them. I think I remember one of them vaguely where he just slapped one in on his left foot outside the
Ipswich.
box on a rebound. But
Yeah.
I can't name a single one off the top of my head and I think that just kind of epitomizes Adama, both in his play and his time here, where you've seen these amazing moments. We talk about the Muniz bicycle kick, and I'm pretty sure Adama is actually the one who assisted it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you always there's a player in there. There's something there. I remember the game against, what was it, Arsenal or City, where it was Arsenal. Adama breaks out right at the end, and we tied 3-3, but he had the opportunity to score the fourth right at the end.
Yeah.
You remember after the Man City game where I think we lost 2-1, and Adama's being pulled aside by Pep at the end of the match, showing him how to shoot. That is Adama in a nutshell. He has all the raw ability. Um, and I have a list personally of players that mildly infuriate me. And
Hmm.
Adama is number 4 on that list of God, he does some things where you're just like, Adama, oh my God. And then there are some things that he just does that you're just like, Adama, oh my God. And that sums up Adama's time at Fulham for me. It's a weird one. I'm happy we've had him. I'm happy he hasn't been against us in that time, but I wish he had done a little bit more. I wish Marco, we talked about all those projects that Marco has done amazing things on, that he could have just taken a little more magic out of Adama.
100%. I mean, he did have that brief spell. Was it the start of last season where he was starting matches, and
Yeah.
Dave makes a great point that we've definitely talked about when we talked about Adama previously, that he should have had double the assists. I don't know what he ended on last season. Maybe it was 4 or 5, but he put in some really good crosses and they just weren't converted. But yeah, he's a very almost story, isn't it? He's like the always the bridesmaid, never the bride, and that's how we'll think of Adama in a
Do you know
bridesmaid's
what's
dress.
starting to scare me though, Mark? Just a little bit. Maybe this is a Ronaldinho to Messi kind of analogy here, although like 7 steps down. Is maybe having Adama go will ensure that Kevin doesn't actually learn to finish from Adama. Because a lot of the time I feel like Kevin does the Adama thing and beats the guy and then goes back and beats him again and creates the space and does something really great and then fluffs his lines at the end. And I'm really hoping that that's just not the future.
Very fair, very fair. Next question, also from Daza. Who is your realistic dream signing?
Dream signing. This is tough. I mean, I like the links. I saw we were putting in a big bid potentially for another full American potentially in Ricardo Pepi. I've seen the rumors with George, with Sterling, with Hackney. Um, that's really tough. I think the number one has to be a center mid. If Marco really, I don't know how, but doesn't see Iwobi as a center mid. Um, but I, I like the Ricardo Pepi shout. I'll throw one more out there that's just a little bit of a weird one. And he's had a really good season when he's healthy. But another full American potentially would be Josh Sargent. I think it could be kind of interesting to have a guy off the bench who can play both as a striker and a winger. I think that would be really fun to have. But I think maybe Ricardo Pepi. I'd like some, as much as I've liked some of the things that Muniz has done. I want us to challenge him again as a striker. And Muniz has risen to that challenge
Mm-hmm.
every step of the way. Now, is he worth 35 million pounds? I don't love that, but if we could get a player of his ilk in, I would be pretty interested. What about yourself, though, Mark? I'm curious now.
Well, I had a follow-up question because I still haven't found my player. And when I mentioned the two players I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure the chat is just going to bash me and be like, you are hilariously overly optimistic regarding Fulham's pull and financial prowess. But my follow-up question before I reveal my two silly names is, but does that mean JKA goes? Do we just cancel his loan? Or would we try and find a way to entice him to effectively still be the third choice at Fulham next season if we do get Pepe and let Raul go?
Yeah, I mean, look, I loved personally that JKA was willing to play in the under 21s, and I think we kind
Yeah.
of have to provide that path. I think people continuously forget that he is 19, 18, 19 years old. Like, he's a
He's
kid.
raw.
He's really, really raw. In the US, he couldn't have not even had a beer yet legally. So it's one of those things where I really liked how he performed against Forest, but he reminds me so much of of Muniz when he first came in, that baby giraffe on ice. That I don't think he's quite ready, and Muniz had the opportunity to kind of develop over a couple of years. So I think this is an opportunity where we say, "Hey, come stay." I don't love if we're buying a potential third striker lottery ticket for. I think his buy option is something like 12 million pounds. That might be a little too much to do that on, but I think we entice him and we tell him that there's a role and there is rotation. We still have the FA Cup as well that he can rotate through. Maybe Marco, we can even convince him to play two up top. Ha. But yeah, I think we need the other striking option, and we tell him like, look, this isn't to replace you. It's at the end of the day, we're one injury away from not having a goal scoring striker. I don't, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think we've had a striker score 10 goals in 2025. Like from
Uh,
January of 2025 till now. I think Raul's on 9.
I think you're right. I was gonna shout out Raul, but I knew it wasn't gonna blow 10 out the water. But yeah, no, you're right. You know, we talk about an 8, and we are missing an 8, and I think we will get an 8 because Marco's made such a point of it in the media, rightly so. He has every sort of right to do that. Um, but I actually think a striker is more important right now. When in our current injury crisis, we don't know if Muniz is going to get injured again. We know Raul is exhausted, and we know JK isn't trusted. So we basically, I often joke when I'm in a bad mood that we're playing with 10.5 men with poor Raul flogging himself on the field. I think a striker would have a greater impact. And with that,
Hey,
my names.
Mark,
Go on.
before you give your name, I just want to list a couple things really quickly that 19-year-olds cannot do, at least in the US legally. And I want you to tell me what you actually trust 19-year-olds with. In the US, they cannot drink, they cannot rent a car, they cannot rent a hotel room. And this is the guy that we're saying is our backup striking option right now. That kind of
But they
scares me.
can serve their country, so
They can serve
he,
their country. They can buy cigarettes. I think they can buy cigarettes. They can buy other products, but they cannot drink, drive, or drive a rental car or get a hotel room. Do you really trust? If you had to put yourself back in 19-year-old Mark, are you the guy who says I'm reliably going to be ready for the biggest moments regularly?
worryingly, I don't think 19-year-old Mark is that different maturity-wise or intellectually from 35-year-old Mark. I think I just had a bit more hair and a bit less fat, but that's about it.
Could you
And a smaller
BDSR in a
paycheck,
beep
but there you
test?
go. I think most people could know, but according to you.
Maybe.
But there you go. Let me give you my names because we are
All right.
approaching the hour mark.
I'm
My
curious.
unrealistic names, come at me because I know the chat's gonna be like, "What the hell, dude?" One, Jonathan David. Throw the checkbook at him.
Love that.
Why not?
Love it.
Why not?
I'm
I've
pretty sure
only
he's a
seen him
free
play
agent at the
twice.
end of the season too, right?
I just saw some rumors that he was properly not appreciated in the locker room at Juventus, and I know that there was a very, very tenuous link last season, and then multiple
I
people
love
said
it.
not going to go
And
to
get him
us.
ready for the World Cup. Like I love it. I'm all in with
Yeah,
you.
there we go, Jonathan. The other one, his brother already plays for Arsenal, but Quinton Timber at Feyenoord. I know he's a 6. I'm wondering if that can be repurposed. He has his contract's up in the summer,
His
that's for
contract's
sure.
absolutely up.
I don't think that maybe the release was kind of crazy. Maybe it was
I
40
think it was
million.
45.
Oh wow. Okay, maybe that's a bit rich for us, but in a dream world, right? We did say ideal. I don't know how realistic it is, but an ideal signing, and I think it'd be a real statement of intent. We've had this debate many times. It's not even a debate, it's more of a discussion. But Berger and Lukic double pivot, is Berger just a straight 8? One of them needs to move, right? And I think the consensus appears to be Lukic is the 6. But if anything, I know he's a very competent 6. All respect to Daza, but like we need to keep building. And someone like Quinton Timber, that excites me. But there you go. Those are my 2 names.
Can I throw out 2 more names for you that I think are
Go
just a
on.
little interesting? One is totally unrealistic, but the only redeeming quality I saw in Burnley, and something that I would like to see us do if they do end up going down, when they do end up going down, I want to see us go get Ukachukwa. I really like
Mm-hmm.
that kid. I thought he was really good. And I've heard people talk about getting Andre from Wolves. I'm way past that. Let's get Ukachukwa. Like I really liked that kid. I thought he was really, really talented and the only threatening thing for Burnley during that match. Um, Another name I've seen floated around, and I'm really curious. Living across the pond, I don't have the same connection to kind of the rest of the UK. What are your thoughts on Troy Parrott potentially?
He has done great for Ireland, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he
nine
scored a
goals in
hat
11
trick.
games in the Eredivisie as well.
Interesting. I just hope that's just not a one season thing, you know? So I can't give you my opinion because it's a pretty uneducated guess at this point. But hey, the stats don't lie. Maybe we need to dig into that a little bit deeper and see how he fits not just the numbers, but with the overall sort of like way Marco wants to play. And he's probably a different profile, right? I think he's not a big lump, is he?
I don't think so, and he's a little more pace. He's 6'1", so he's not a small guy. He came up through the English system. I think he started out at it might have been Millwall. I think he was in the Tottenham system for a while. He just feels like a he doesn't feel like a Marco player in the sense that he's Irish, but he feels like a Marco player in the sense of somebody who can potentially kind of build himself up and kind of take that next step with us and needs the platform to do it. He's probably a little expensive right now just because of how he's doing across the board this season, but I think it could be a really interesting possibility for us. And we talk about the age profile. He's in his early 20s. This isn't like, going and getting a 30, 32 year old or asking Mitro to come back from Qatar. Like, I would be pretty interested in that one as a little bit of an outside shout there.
That's a great shout. I've just done a quick search. He is 23, so he's young. We like that. Definitely in demand. Looks like the three other teams in for him right now are West Ham, Leeds, and Everton. Now, I'm not sure why Leeds want him because Calvert-Lewin is doing phenomenally recently for them. But West
They
Ham, I
don't
could see
trust his
having the
health.
money.
They don't
That's
trust
true.
his health. But
That's true.
I don't know. I think the pull of coming to Fulham could be done. Not necessarily having to be in a relegation scrap. And again, the opportunity to essentially have a minimum 1 month audition to be the number one guy until Muniz comes back. I don't hate the idea.
Fair enough. And just to finish this segment, we do have from Billy Gray, Tammy Abrams from, I'm going to mess this up, but I believe it's Besiktas.
Besiktas,
Maybe
yeah.
that.
I have no interest in Tammy Abraham. Sorry, washed. You're playing in Turkey. Unless he's coming back with a new hairline, like I don't know what we're getting out of that. I'm more into the other ones. I think we need to be a little more like if we're going to be ambitious, let's be ambitious, right? Let's not do a reclamation project. We're talking about players who are on form right now. Let's go for somebody who's going to be on form. I think one thing I've noticed, Mark, and I'm not sure about you, and I know I'm taking us a little bit off topic here, but when you look at a lot of Marco signings, it typically takes them a little over a year to hit the
Yeah.
ground running. And we're seeing it right now. I called this last season. As much as I make fun of him, ESR is really hitting stride, and it's a year and a half later from when we signed him. By the way, still has not completed a full 90. Insane to me.
That is.
But it's one of those things where we don't have a year and a half for a striker to come good. If we're going to wait a year and a half, let Rodrigo come in and re-earn the spot. I want to see us go for somebody who's in form, who wants to come in now, who has a point to prove. And again, mentioning Rodrigo, remember the last time we brought in competition for him? We brought in Broya, and did Broya play 5 matches for us?
I don't know, but I know he never recovered. It took him ages to get his first goal for Burnley, so there you go. That's
So
the power of Rodrigo Muniz and Saint Muniz's day. But I'll leave with one last because it just something was tickling my brain. So the very last thing, we're just over the hour mark, but it was extremely divisive. I would like everyone to chip in as well on this on the chat because this one completely divided the group chat. Raheem Sterling, yay or nay?
no, it doesn't excite me. We have limited resources. I mean, if you're going to give me him for free, sure. But if we're going to spend monopoly money on him, sure. But I don't want to spend American or British currency on Raheem Sterling. I want us to, if he's an option on the bench, I think that's fine. But his wages are going to be insane. I we haven't seen him really play in 2 seasons. I don't really know what he offers us, and candidly, somehow I know we keep talking about wingers, but Mark, as we list through the options, I mean, I want to re-sign Wilson. I want to re-sign Sessignon. We have Chukwueze, who I want to become a permanent. We have Kevin.
Yep.
Um, we have options, and I don't want to deal with an ego like Sterling to get in just to be what, a fifth option, who might be the most expensive for wage wise out of all of those. That's not one that excites me.
That was the name that was mentioned by Fulham Fan News, a regular and frequent contributor to our Discord, as something that's been floated to us. We have held an interest before. I'm in the same boat as you, Mike. I don't see what he has to prove. He's won trophies. He's probably going to be expensive, even if Chelsea either just cut him loose with a lump sum or offer to pay a large portion of his wages. Now, Skibby's counter argument is that there's experience there. We've had success with reclamation projects like a Willian, like a Raul. But for me, I don't know. I think I'm with you in that. I'm not saying he's completely washed or done, but it doesn't excite me. And I struggle to see the upside of why would we want to come to us just for 6 months? It feels a bit strange. But I
I've
think
got three
that's
words
just.
for you, Mark. I got three words for you. Ruben Loftus Cheek.
Oh dear.
It
That was.
screams that to me as somebody who wants to rebuild themselves and not do anything for the club. I don't have an interest. It doesn't excite me, as you said. And if we're going to kick on in the second half of the season, I want players who excite me and who want to accomplish something. And as you said, what's he? He's motivated to make the Conference League. Like, he couldn't even make the Conference League squad for Chelsea.
I gotta put this in from Steve, and we'll wrap up the show there. But he said he will dive for 5 pens at least, and he is very good at here's the phrase that the commentators use when they like you, like a Harry Kane or whoever else. He wins decisions. It's not diving; it's winning decisions.
I
So
think
there you
that's
go.
it's the English version of flopping around when they refer to Brazilians.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and we'll wrap it up there. Mike, it's always so fun having you. You bring the energy, you bring the enthusiasm, you bring the optimism. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And while I will not be the Fulham Bostonian at the matches this holiday period, say hi to Mike while he's over there. The other one, um, show him a good time, get him a little crazy. I think his son's going to be there too, and I'm not exactly sure what the drinking laws are over there, but let's have some fun with that too. And I will be making my way out. But thank you as always for having me, Mark. It's wonderful to spend the Christmas period with you. And thank you for everybody who contributed today. Again, one last shout out for the Discord. Let's hear the thoughts as we get into West Ham, as we get into silly season again. Do you think Marco is going to sign a contract? I'm so excited for what the second half of the season has in store.
Absolutely right. And I guess I'll see us out there with a you are